Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Paul TX141 Walsh and welcome to an all new World of Tanks video. In this video I shall be analysing my usage of the Tier 8 Premium American Light Tank, the T92, in a Tier 10 standard battle on the map Halluf. As the gameplay plays out, I shall be discussing my thought processes. I'll also be pausing the gameplay at certain points to go into additional levels of detail which serve to explain the key decisions I make during the battle and how these influence the subsequent tactics I employ. Without further ado then, let's get tanking. As may be seen, I've spawned in on the south side, platooning with my friends Callum and Johnny who are respectively driving their Charioteer and ISU 152. In terms of my opening plan, I intend to go down into the southeastern section of the valley to contest the small town that lies on the hill in grid square Foxtrot 6. In particular, I want to take up a position in a layer of bushes on the northwestern edge of the town as indicated by the tip of the white arrow. The value of this position is that it provides me with an ideal position to passive scout the enemy's main sniper ridge as indicated by Vision Cone 1. This in turn will make it awkward for any enemy tanks, particularly tank destroyers, who want to take up positions on this ridge or traverse it to set up in grid squares Foxtrot 9 or Golf 9. If the enemy do want to take said positions in Foxtrot 9 or Golf 9, they will need to move down the zero line, which will take additional time. Additionally, this position allows me to passive scout into the middle and northwestern reaches of the valley as indicated by Vision Cone 2. This will serve to shut down any enemy light tanks who wish to take up a forward position in the bush lines that run across grid squares Delta 4 to Echo 5, and could even allow me to spot enemy light tanks that position themselves on the hill in Delta 4 should they fire their cannon, removing their concealment. However, should I encounter an enemy light tank who wishes to contest my chosen position, I have a plan B, which is to pull back behind the southwestern slope of the hill on which the town lies, as indicated by the B zone. This will grant me a safe location from which to plan my next move. Getting the gameplay underway then, the one thing that's on my mind as we're about to set off is the constitution of the enemy's light tank force. An ELC VIII and an LT432, both vehicles which have advantages over my own. The ELC VIII having the stronger concealment and also the lethality of a 3-shot burst, dealing on average 720 damage if all 3 shells hit from the autoloader, and the LT432 having a similar reload to my own gun but greater armour giving it greater survivability in a one-on-one engagement. We've successfully made it down to the southwestern slope of the hill and now we're moving up onto our passive scouting position, and we can see on the minimap that we've got good support from a number of tank destroyers and also T-54E1. So we're just going to sit here and see what appears on screen. And looking at the minimap, a considerable amount of force from our team has been sent northwards, which means there's going to be a great contest up there which will take a period of time to conclude. But we catch this Object 704 out of position and our teammates start to deal the damage. Unfortunately, one shell bounces off the front of the Object 704 there, but it's already down to half health as the second shell that goes in, most likely from our Waffenträger Aufpanzerwehr. Now we need to pause here and assess the information available to us. Now some of you may be wondering, how can we analyse information already despite the fact that very little appears to have happened on screen? Well, we're not just going to be analysing the information in terms of the enemies we've spotted, but also based on my vision cones and the events that have transpired between the start of the game and this point. With the vision cones on screen as a quick reminder, I'm going to break down the information available into 3 types. The first is known. These are zones where I know no enemies are located, or I know the exact positions of the enemies in these zones and they pose no threat to me at this time. The second is assume. These are zones where I'm confident there are no enemies due to previous events or the current positions of my teammates. And thirdly, enemy. These are zones where I know enemies are located or believe enemies may be located based on my own thoughts or information provided to me by my teammates. Starting with the known, I have 2 known zones. The first is the enemy's main sniper ridge, as this falls within my passive scouting vision cones, and the second is the northeastern ramp up to the small town in Foxtrot 6, as I've not encountered an enemy light tank yet, seen any scenery being knocked down, or been spotted. I can also infer this from the forward positions my teammates are holding on our sniper ridge. If there was an enemy light tank in this zone, my teammates would be forced to sit further back to avoid being spotted. Moving on to the assume, I'm confident no enemies lie in the southeastern corner of the valley or on the enemy's eastern ramp in grid square Foxtrot 8. I'm making this assumption based on the positions of my friendly ISU 152 and T-54E1 who would have spotted any enemies in this zone. As for the enemy, I have 2 zones in the northwest of the valley due to the pings made by my friendly FV4005, which would suggest they are being spotted by a light tank located either up on the hill in Delta 4 or in the bushes running from Delta 4 to Echo 5. I also have two further enemy zones to consider, the first being the portion of the enemy's main sniper ridge in Delta 7, which I cannot spot from my passive scouting position due to lines of sight, and secondly the easternmost hillside running from Hotel 9 to Golf 0, as it is shielded by the east ridge in Golf 9. I cannot even spot the Golf 9 ridge due to my line of sight being obscured by the town buildings southeast of my current position. Resuming, I'm content to sit here for the time being as I'm keeping the enemy object 704 locked down in position. However, do keep in mind I have the left hand side of my vehicle exposed from the bushes I'm concealing myself within. This means if any enemy light tanks push through the centre or the northwestern side of the valley, they are going to spot me. And what would you know? I get spotted. Time to analyse the information again. Having been spotted, this immediately confirms my suspicions regarding the position of the enemy light tanks. This, in combination with the reposition of my friendly T-54E1, also means I can now update the information I have available and plan my next move. This image shows what information was available to me 20 seconds earlier. If I now update it using the same model as before, it changes as follows. The assumed zone in the southeastern corner of the valley is now a known zone. The T-54E1 would have spotted any enemies if they were present in this zone. The enemy zone on the enemy's main sniper ridge in Delta 7 is now an assumed zone. Again, this is thanks to the T-54E1 who would have been shot at by and therefore spotted any enemies in this zone. There is definitely an enemy light tank in the bushes running from Delta 4 to Echo 5, otherwise I would not have been spotted. Now in terms of my next move, I plan to retreat behind the southwestern slope of the hill on which the town lies, as indicated by the B zone. I will get there by driving off the northwestern edge of the town hill, which will shield me from the last known position of the enemy Object 704, and also take me a little bit closer to the enemy light tanks, increasing my chances of spotting them, especially if they take pot shots at me. Resuming the gameplay and enacting my escape plan. As soon as I start to get underway, I spot the ELC-90, who immediately retreats into the cover of the northeastern slope of the town hill. Now as I get into my own cover, I'm hoping to become unspotted and make an immediate plan into effect. The reason for this is because the longer that ELC-90 is allowed to live, the higher the likelihood they're going to spot my friendly snipers along our own sniper ridge and enable their snipers to start wreaking havoc on my allies, and I can't afford for that to happen because things have worked out in our favour so far. So I'm immediately making my way round anti-clockwise round to the ELC-90 and hoping to receive support from our ISU-152 and T-54E1 in particular, who I have shots on them. And as I make way to the initial coverage of the enemy's eastern ramp, our ISU-152 puts a lovely shell into the ELC-90 and I can finish them off using auto-aim. At which point, now I've just got to wait a couple of seconds to become unspotted, and I'm going to start making my way further up the enemy's eastern ramp. And as I do so here, using the cover of the ridgeline, I don't spot anything, and this means I've got a lot more information available to me now as we pause to assess the situation and the next move. As I start to ascend the second half of the enemy's eastern ramp, it is worth noting that this move could lead to our team being able to push into the enemy's base from the south, and so we really want to get this right. This image reflects the information that was available to me a minute ago. I can update it as follows. I can add a new assumed zone just north of where I will emerge from the enemy's eastern ramp, i.e. grid square Foxtrot 9. I'm confident in this assumption due to the previous position of my teammates on my team's main sniper ridge. Additionally, my friends have reported that any damage they have taken has been from the direction of grid squares Hotel 9 and Golf 0, implying that Foxtrot 9 is clear. Meanwhile, I can update the enemy zones by firstly removing the zones in grid squares Delta 4 and Echo 5, since these zones are now at the extremity of my view range and will soon be outside of it, and secondly, being confident that the enemies located in the easternmost hillside running from Hotel 9 to Golf 0 are the enemy's Object 704 and Guerrilla 15. This is because my friends have received hits from both of these vehicles with the shells coming from the direction of this hillside, as reported to me via TeamSpeak. As a result, my plan is to rotate around the southern face of the hill running from Hotel 9 to Golf 0 in order to spot the enemy tank destroyers and give my allies on our main sniper ridge the opportunity to take them out. My plan B, should things turn nasty, as shown by the B arrow, will be to retreat into the southeastern corner of the valley as currently occupied by my friendly T-54E1. Getting underway once more, Taking a quick look at the minimap with respect to the battle in the north, it would appear that my team is gradually falling back or crumbling under the weight of the enemy team, albeit at a slow enough pace that I do not have to worry about an anti-clockwise encirclement. Instead, as I make my way around the southern side of the hill here, I spot the objects 704 and finish them off. And as I'm about to finish them off, enemy guerrilla 15 pushes over the hill to take a shot at myself, albeit they shoot on the move and do not aim, meaning the shell whisks past the front of my tank, and the combined firepower of my own vehicle plus my friendly tank destroyers is enough to finish the guerrilla 15 off. And that means we can now collectively make a push from the southern side of the map, I myself, the tank destroyers, the LTTB and the T-54E1. Now my plan here is to gradually make my way towards the enemy's base, but I need to know where the last two enemy tank destroyers are, i.e. the Ferdinand and the Su-130PM, before I can make that push to try and capture the base, because they could be lying in wait. But now they've been spotted as declared on the minimap in the northern sector of the map, this gives me the confidence to be able to go straight into the enemy base and start applying the capture pressure. Now the idea behind the capture pressure is, at most I'm going to take the base and secure the win. At least I'm expecting that some enemy vehicles will be peeling off from the northern battle and starting to make their way back to defend the base, making life a bit easier for my teammates up in the north. We can also see on the minimap that our T-54E1 is making their way up towards the base, albeit at a bit of a slow rate, but they're going to get here eventually. And we've also got the support of our ISU-152, who is going to be positioning themselves most likely in grid squares Delta 9 or Delta 0 in order to provide some distant supporting fire with their whopping 152mm cannon. As I get comfortable in the base here and continue to capture it, and the T-54E1 is almost here now, I'm starting to get a little bit overconfident and holding a position which gives me some visibility of where my opponents could come from, but not necessarily in all directions, and it's worth us taking a moment to analyse this. At this point, with practically the rest of the enemy team spotted, and my team having pushed all the way through from the south to the enemy's base, you could easily think that this game had been won. However, in doing so, I've become complacent and underestimated how the enemy team could defend their base. Taking a look at my vision cones, I vision on two of the three approach routes the enemy could take to defend their base. The first being the southwestern ramp as indicated by vision cone 1, with my friendly LTTB also having a clear line of sight on this ramp, and the second being the western ramp as indicated by vision cone 2. However, as shown by the red arrow, I do not have vision on the third approach route, the northwestern ramp. Whilst it could be argued that I may spot some vehicles trying to move down this route if they have to cross grid square Alpha 5, which falls in vision cone 2, particularly heavy tanks, it is highly unlikely I would spot any light or medium tanks or tank destroyers crossing this grid square, as it is the extremity of my view range and the route is obscured by a small ridge which lies along the lines where grid squares Alpha 6 and Bravo 6 meet. This is about to lead to me being caught by surprise. So how does it all play out? Well, to start with, I continue to teeter back and forth in this position to keep an eye on the western ramp. My expectation is that I'm going to spot the enemy Ferdinand. I'm hoping they're going to rotate back via grid square Alpha 5. But as time presses on, that lack of visibility of the northwestern ramp rears its ugly head in the form of the enemy T-44, who comes back and successfully resets my capture progress. Now I decide I need to get to cover, and I can't take the T-44 on head to head. Instead I want to draw them in to take on my teammates, and putting some buildings between myself and them, I bump into the enemy LT-432. And knowing that my APCR shells may struggle to go through that tank, I decide, right, activate the high explosive anti-tank rounds and use two of them to finish off the rather threatening enemy light tank. And in the meantime, my friendly T-54E1 and ISU-152 have been successful in eliminating the enemy T-44, meaning that we can now return to capturing the enemy base, albeit the only enemy vehicle that seems to be now trying to reset our progress is the Su-130PM, who currently is sitting in grid square Alpha 5, and this means I can gradually return to my position that I was holding on to earlier in order to spot them, once I feel confident that I can creep a little bit closer to that position. Right now I'm just holding off to see what the rest of the enemy team's doing, and it would appear their four other tanks are actually rotating down from the northwestern corner of the map and trying to clear up my teammates who are towards our base before they come back to defend their own base, meaning the only effective defender on the enemy team is the Su-130PM, who we are now spotting, and shortly that's going to be rewarded with a wonderful shell from our ISU-152 to finish them off. We get the spotting damage and the game comes to its end with a victory for my team. With that is all I've got time for today. As I leave you with the post-game stat screens, I would like to say thank you for watching, and if you did enjoy the video, please feel free to leave a like, comment or subscribe. But until next time, as always ladies and gentlemen, take care and have a nice day.